Now, you mentioned that the most important thing in order to get faster is to do more fast work at a higher intensity. Can you give us some examples of some of your favorite sets that will involve fast-paced running?
Well, we'll do sometimes just short intervals. Typically at the end of the workout, we'll do things like 6 to 8 times 200 meters at a faster than race pace tempo. It helps develop the efficiency, and I think especially we do it after the workout because oftentimes it's easy to be efficient when you're rested and ready to go, but when you're fatigued, that's when it becomes an issue, and that's when it becomes an issue in a race. So we do a lot of faster, and not fast, not all out, but I would say at 85 to 90% of their maximal tempo. Stuff like that after the workouts, I feel it's very, very important because it's easy to run efficiently when you're, like I said, when you're rested, but when you're tired, that becomes an issue. And if you can develop it, that's important. We do a lot of tempo runs, threshold runs, steady state runs. People have different names for them, where we'll do anywhere from 10 to maybe 25 or 30 minutes. Tempo runs at about 85% of their maximal pace. You start low and develop that as you go on, but I feel that's a very important. It develops efficiency at running at a fast pace, and I think that's ultimately, if I had to pick one workout I think really, really helps, and we do that on a weekly basis, is the tempo, threshold, steady state runs, anywhere from those 10 to 30 minute intervals. That's very, very effective. And I think we certainly do intervals of anywhere from 800 meters to 2,000 meters. We're running at a race pace, so they get used to that tempo. But again, one of the things for developing speed is developing the neuromuscular system. It has to get used to firing fast. And that's the only way you're going to develop it, is put your athletes in that type of situation.
What about meet psychology? How do you prepare your athletes to be mentally ready to compete?
Well, I always think the most important thing in preparation for meet is having a goal in mind of what you're going to be doing, an idea. Too many athletes go into the race with no plan at all, and I was compared to going on vacation. You just don't get in the car and drive. You have a destination that you're going to. And so we do the same type of thing. Now, with the athletes, I always feel it's important you control the first half of your race, and I don't care if you're running 100 meters or if you're running a marathon. You can always control the first half of your race, and so that's the goal we have in mind, to have them set up steps along the way. It's like going to the top of the Sears Tower. You take one step at a time, and so for them, if it's a 10K race, then you may say this is the mile pace we want to go out for the first, second, and third miles. If it's 100 meters, you may have procedures you're doing up to 20 meters, more procedures you're doing up to 50 meters, more up to 80 meters, and then as you go into the finish. So focus on the first half of the race because you have complete control. Fatigue is not an issue. And so that's the biggest thing. Second, we try and teach them to relax going in. Success becomes harder to come by when you're tense and nervous and mechanical. You need to be as relaxed as possible. And so we work on that a lot, both in practice and in preparation for the meet, to be relaxed as you're going into that. Third thing I was thinking about is stay focused on when you've done well and what you want to do. Negative thoughts produce negative performances, and I think positive thoughts. I even talk to the athletes about having a mantra or something like that. They repeat themselves, a positive mantra. Instead of saying, I'm tired, I'm not going to do well, they say, I'm tough, I'm going to stay up where I need to stay up. Rehearse positive things, and I think positive things will happen as a result.
Coach, nutrition. What nutritional considerations, or what is your belief on sports nutrition with track and field?
It's extremely important. I think it's one of the areas that, to be honest, it's the hardest to control, but it's one of the more important areas. Things like hydration is crucial, and it doesn't matter whether you're running 100 meters or you're running a marathon. It's very, very important on a daily basis and on a workout basis. It can affect a performance in practice and a meet highly, and it's very, very important. But I stress the athletes carry around water with them on a daily basis. That's very important. Another thing that we do is have a varied diet. Too many athletes, they'll have their chicken, but they don't get red meat. And I realize some people aren't big into red meat, but it's a tremendous source of iron. And especially for female athletes, that's an issue. So they have to be very aware of that. I counsel them and saying, you may not like to have a hamburger, may not be what you want, but it's very important to have because it's a tremendous source of iron. And I think too many athletes get caught up in vitamin pills type of mentality. And I think that's a poor mentality. I think you need to focus on a good diet. Find food sources you get it from. That's very, very important. We always emphasize, getting your vitamins through fruits and vegetables. That's a great way to do it. Very, very important. The other thing I always talk to the athletes, the importance of replenishing carbohydrates after workout is very, very important. We always have, on our long runs on Sunday, we always have fruits and vegetables and bagels after the run. And I always tell the athletes, this is so you can replenish your fuel immediately. Physiologically, once you've burned the fuel from the muscle, the sooner you replenish it, the more you can replenish. And I think that's very, very important. But I talk about diet on a regular basis, but it's hard to control because that's I don't watch them 24 hours a day, and that's the biggest thing to control. But athletes that are overweight will never be as good of athletes as runners. Will never be as good at runners. And it doesn't matter whether you're a sprinter, a high jumper, or a distance runner. That becomes very, very important.
Finally, Coach, any last words of advice to, let's say, the high school athlete that is trying to become a track and field athlete in college?
I always think one of the things that, in terms of training, one of the things that's real important is too many do their miles at slow tempo. Now, you can't do it fast all the time, but I think the biggest change is from high school to college is they do a faster tempo training. That's one of the biggest issues that they're going to have down the road. And I think that's going to be something that they need to focus on. Don't do your long, slow all the time. Do your faster tempo, because I feel that's very, very important. And then also you're going to have to learn to step it up the mileage. Typically the difference between high school and college is the amount of mileage they do. And I feel that's going to make a big difference. And also don't be afraid in terms of recruiting and being a college athlete, sell yourself to coaches. A lot of people are out there and coaches have no idea they're there. I think as an athlete, you don't realize how many thousands of athletes that we're involved with. And it's very hard to identify kids. They may have had injuries, they may have had illness, this may be the first year of running. There's a lot of issues, and I think if people take the time and effort to present themselves to the coaches, they'll be surprised at some of the responses. But one of the things I always caution athletes, make it directed to that coach. Don't do a shotgun approach. Do it so the coach knows that you sent a letter just to them. And I realize that may not be the case, but you need to make them think that this is the school that you're interested in, just like you would want the same thing. That's what I would recommend.